Hello and welcome back to Children's Reading Cove. This is part 2 of The Tempest. Prince Ferdinand was seated cross-legged on the sand. Salt water and the sun had bleached his brown hair almost blonde, and his handsome face was lined with sadness. Whenever he closed his eyes, he saw the massive waves that had swallowed the ship and cast him upon this uncharted island. He might never be found, and he wondered if it would be better to swim out to sea and join his drowned father than face a life of miserable loneliness. His thoughts were suddenly interrupted by lights dancing in front of his face, swarming like bees. They were so fascinating that Ferdinand could do nothing but stare at them. Then he heard music and the singing of a sweet, high voice. "Forget thy father, deep he lies, with shining pearls set in his eyes. Come with me now, Prince Ferdinand, and walk along the yellow sand." Ferdinand seemed to be caught up in a dream. Without a word, he stood and followed where the lights led him. Prospero saw Ferdinand from afar, following bewitched behind Ariel's glimmering lights. When the young prince was close by, Prospero touched Miranda on the shoulder, releasing her from the spell. Instantly she woke, and the first thing she saw was Ferdinand. "Is this a spirit, father?" she gasped. "No, my child, it is a man of flesh and blood like you and me," Prospero told her. "But I thought all men had white hair and beards like yours," Miranda exclaimed. Prospero smiled and signaled to Ariel. The dancing lights vanished, and Ferdinand's trance was broken. He saw Miranda, and his eyes filled with wonder at her beauty. "Am I still dreaming?" he whispered. "Is this a vision?" "I am no vision, sir," Miranda said. "I am as real as you are, if you are indeed real." Shyly, she reached out her hand. Ferdinand reached out his, and their fingertips touched. "I saw in the stars that you were meant for each other," Prospero said softly. "Your love will undo all the evil done by hatred." Miranda and Ferdinand heard nothing of this, for they were totally lost in each other. "Ariel," said Prospero, "find King Alonso and my brother Antonio, and when you do—" Ariel listened carefully, and before long the air was bright with his laughter. On another part of the beach, two sailors swayed across the sand, leaning against each other to stop themselves from falling over. One was Trinculo, a thin man with ginger hair and a freckled face, and his companion was Stefano, who had a shock of gray hair and a stomach as round as a watermelon. They had been washed ashore together with a cask of wine, which they had fast consumed. Now they were so drunk that when Caliban jumped out from behind a rock and groveled at their feet, they were not entirely sure that he was really there. Caliban had been watching Trinculo and Stefano for some time, and his quick, cunning mind had seen a way to use them to get rid of his master Prospero. "Gentle gods," Caliban cried, "have you come from the sky to save me?" "I thinks we're gods," Trinculo giggled. He's an ugly brute, but he knows good breeding when he sees it," whispered Stefano. "That's right, we're gods from the moon," he said to Caliban. "Save me," Caliban begged. "Save me from the wicked enchanter who enslaved me, and I will give you all his treasure and be your faithful servant forever." "Enchanter?" yelped Trinculo, turning pale. "Courage, Trinculo," Stefano murmured. "And what kind of treasure might that be, good monster?" "Gold," said Caliban, "and silver, and many jewels." Stefano drew his cutlass and waved it so clumsily that he almost cut his right ear. "Pirates, enchanters, it's all the same to me," he boasted. "Take me to the villain, I'll carve him into thin slices." With a whoop of delight, Caliban led the way along the jungle track to Prospero's cave. After the long walk through the jungle's heat and shadows and strange sounds, Stefano's head began to clear, and he no longer felt as bold as he had earlier, and Trinculo was trembling like mouse's whiskers. Is it much farther?" Stefano asked Caliban. "There," Caliban replied, pointing. Trinculo stood on tiptoes and peered. He could see the mouth of a cave filled with an ominous darkness. "Why don't we walk side by side?" he gibbered. "Then nothing can harm us." Even as he spoke, the darkness in the cave began to move. It poured out of the cave's mouth, coiling like black mist, and the mist transformed into a pack of savage black dogs with red eyes and slavering fangs. Snapping and snarling, the dogs bounded toward the intruders. Trinculo and Stefano turned and ran screaming into the jungle, with Caliban close behind. End of part 2. We'll see you again soon for part 3. Bye-bye.